All right, I'm here with Jessica Bergman, owner of Downtown Strength and Conditioning. And I asked Jess to come on the show because we were recently at your box. We were there for Wadapalooza weekend, which of course led to a huge influx at your gym. But I was just taken aback by how well the gym was run, how organized it was, how clean it was, how much you care about the gym. So I wanted to
Thank
have
you.
you on. So welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Super excited to be here. Absolutely.
Let me tell you the first thing that I noticed about you. Well, other than the fact that, I had met you in the past at your level two, but, I sent you a message. I said, hey, we're going to be at Wadapalooza. Camille and Dave are going to be there. Can we do some stuff? And within like 30 seconds, you had responded and you had texted me, and you were
Yeah.
the entire time just so responsive and super fast with everything that I think that's something. That was the first thing I noticed about how good you were and why you have a successful box.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My old CEO, my company that I still work for on the side, I guess, if you would, always say fast is better than slow. And I still believe that. I think that, if it's something that you can kind of get to pretty quickly, right? Like just even a quick, we'll talk later, or just a quick response. I think that it's always better than leaving it to wait, right? So I appreciate that and definitely take pride in being quick, especially around Wadapalooza. I'm like married to my phone because we're getting so many, calls and texts and questions. So always try and be especially, responsive around the time of year.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. You are
Yeah.
literally in downtown Miami. For those that have been to Wadapalooza, you're a block away from the venue. I mean, a 2-minute walk, if that.
Yeah.
What does being around the corner from such a big event do to a box? Like, how impactful is that for you guys?
Yeah, so it's very impactful. I'll preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I've been living in Miami since 2009, and I started CrossFit way back when at one of the first boxes that was down here, and was able to witness the birth of Wadapalooza when Guido had first put it together. I judged it the first year and was able to compete in following years, and then became a spectator, and now obviously experience it as not just a coach but now as a box owner, right? So knowing kind of the history of Wadapalooza and having watched it evolve, I knew that it was going to be really important. Last year, we were only in business for 3 months when Wadapalooza happened, but knowing what I knew about, how big it is and how many people it draws from the community, we were doing everything in our power to get ready last year, right? So spent a ton of time, outbound marketing, going on Instagram, following, hashtags, not a bot, right? Me personally, reaching out to athletes, spectators, coaches, photographers, anyone that I knew in the community over the past 10 years, and inviting them to the gym, telling them come by, check it out. Really capitalizing on the fact that we were going to be there, close to the actual festival, and that we were new, right? So a lot of people didn't know we were there. So that being said, this year we had at least a little bit to draw from. I was very fortunate last year to attend the first MDL1 DDC course out at HQ, and I ran into Dylan and Matt, and they're with Loud Live, and I took my phone and I was like, hey, I know Dylan for many years from when he first started in the CrossFit community down here, and showed him my highlights on Instagram. I was like, look, this is what we did at Wadapalooza. This was in March of last year, and I was like, this is what we did. How could we do more this year, right? We're a block away. How do we align better with you guys throughout the year, right? So that when Wadapalooza comes around this year in 2020, that we would be, the best partner we could be, for you guys. So conversations kind of started there. And then Dylan was back in town, so was I here in Miami, and him and Stacy, who was one of the community outreach people over there at Loud Live, they toured the gym, talked about how we were going to potentially be expanding this year, which we did, and how we were going to be even bigger and better. So kind of started involving ourselves in, the online qualifiers, hosting some of those. And then, Buttery came down here and they did 20.2 here, and Matt and Pat came to kind of cheer them on. And we, so we had been building to this, right? It wasn't just, hey, let's be a partner of Wadapalooza. I mean, we really had been working on the partnership really since Wadapalooza ended last year. I mean, it really takes a year to get ready for something like that. And being that we're just, as a gym right here in downtown, it's like, what could we do to do as much as we can to bring, whether it be events, spectators, coaches, photographers, whatever, to get, people to our gym and to really be an extension of Wadapalooza. And I feel like we were really able to do that this year. I think you know that firsthand because you were at our gym, and we were able to host an event there, and it was awesome. And I think it's a win-win for everybody, right? If we have the space and we can make it work, we will.
Yeah, not just us. I mean, throughout the entire weekend, you had even, games level athletes, people competing at Wadapalooza, just randoms coming in and working out. So that's really
Yep.
awesome. So it was more than just, hey, we were hosting these seminars here. It was really just, this is the place to be. If you want to train, come on in.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's, to your point, right? It's a lot of moving parts, right? Like people are like, oh, you're so lucky, you get so many drop-ins. It's like, I hate that word luck, right? Because I think, yeah, luck is great, but there's a lot of planning goes into, getting these people, to your gym, right? Whether it's, being fortunate enough to know some of these athletes, right? When they first started out, before they were, games or regional athletes, rest in peace regionals, or sanctional athletes rather,
Yeah.
to get them out here, right? But also, to be, doing a lot of that legwork, right? To sit on the couch literally at night and be out there, outbound, reaching out every Wadapalooza hashtag, every, follow these people's journeys through the qualifiers. I mean, I literally was back in August when the qualifiers were happening, inviting people or following their journey, right? Hey, great job on your, your PR, your time on whatever, or, great job on this qualifier, and really, becoming part of the process leading up to Wadapalooza, and just creating a lot of the marketing around it. We have a great marketing manager these days who's a member at the gym, and she, when the gym got busy enough where I couldn't just do all the flyers and all these different things, I started working with her to help, create a lot of buzz, putting together like really fair, and aggressive pricing packages, like for people to come in, not going to, gouge our own community, putting together really cool retail, and just doing it as much as we can, to get that word out, right? To bring the right people here, and then the media, right? Like, being very open, to having them here to do what they need to do. But also, of course, being cognizant of it. Our members still need to work out too, right? Opening the gym for insane hours. I mean, 4:45 in the morning, we're opening the gym. And by the time we end open gym and close the gym and clean it up, and it's almost 10 o'clock at night, and then being right back there again. So I think that just, making sure that the gym is available to those athletes, and especially for the elites, like making it essentially a safe space, right? I mean, if you're Brent Fikowski and you're coming to our gym for 3 hours to train, or you're, Kelsey Keel, and you've just qualified for the first time as an individual, it's now, it's shifted from, I need to go here and compete and be ready, to, yeah, I'll cheer my friends on, work with my sponsors, do some podcasts, do some different, media appearances, but I got to train. I got to worry about my sleep, my eating, my training, my recovery. And, if we can take one thing off those types of athletes' plates, right, by allowing them a place where they can train and, have the equipment they need, the space they need, and not worry about somebody, hey, I need a picture with you. Can we take a selfie? Like, these people are people, right? And they have essentially what they work all year for coming up, right? So if we can help provide a place for them to kind of seek a little refuge, get their training in, and kind of put their mind at ease, for that piece at least of their trip, then we're going to do that. So I think, and then word kind of spreads, right? We had a lot of affiliate owners and coaches here last year, and they send their athletes, right? Or we reach out, I reached out to, like, for example, like Todd Wise or the Ben Bergman or whoever, and just say, hey, send your athletes here. They can be here. We'll, allow them a place to train, and, just being flexible with that. So
Right. So point is, all this stuff that looks easy is actually really complicated and really time intensive beforehand. And I think, what I want to really chat about is the same thing relative to your box, because
Mm-hmm.
I think what gets overlooked when you go to a lot of boxes is just the attention to detail. And that
Mm-hmm.
was something that you guys really do well. And it doesn't surprise me that the same attention to detail, you're putting into making sure everyone's Wadapalooza experience is amazing, you're doing every day. Like I said earlier, the cleanliness, the fact that you have shirts available in all different styles. I can just see I moved a bench and you moved it back, or I moved a bench and you made sure chairs were there. Even the fact that you had those, I wouldn't call them fancy, but I would call them like rubberish chairs, so people that sit
Yes.
on them don't get all, don't get MRSA or the
Yeah.
coronavirus, from sitting on a, the rumor is the coronavirus started at a CrossFit box on the sweaty couch.
I
Um,
probably did.
so let's talk about some. Let me ask you questions along the way. How did you
Yeah.
decide to open, like, in probably one of the most expensive areas in Miami?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, as I mentioned, I've been doing CrossFit down here since 2009. I was working out and coaching at a small gym just a few blocks away, in the wrong direction, if you would, further west, kind of where it's a little desolate here in downtown. Because, Miami is like, most cities, right? Where you can be on one street and it's great, and you can be on another street and it's not so great. And just over the bridge is essentially one of the most expensive zip codes in the city, which is in Brickell. Brickell is essentially out of reach, in my opinion, for the overhead that you're going to have with a successful gym, right? As far as just the rent alone. Downtown, a little less expensive, but if you're close to the Brickell line, you could at least draw a lot of that crowd, right? I mean, I live in Brickell, and I still, I can walk to the gym or bike to the gym or scooter, right? We get locals primarily. But that being said, I was running that small gym, and the owners have a very successful gym up in Fort Lauderdale, across from Fort Lauderdale, and never really planned on taking it over, but kind of got to this point where like I wanted to do more. I come from a corporate background, and I make my own hours. I had free time. I was spending a lot of time doing things in the gym that I wasn't being necessarily asked to do, but that I just felt like doing. I started doing some of their social media, started planning like events, little track days, different things outside the gym, and had kind of slowly staffed the gym, right, with people that I knew from the community. And before I knew it, Jojo, who was managing the gym, essentially most of the day, him and I we're really a team. And then, we brought on a bunch of other coaches, and fast forward, and I kind of looked around, and I approached the owners, good people. I didn't want to open up a gym and be like, hey guys, like, F you, I'm going to do my own thing. Like, I'm the best. I had to remember the fact that these guys gave me and our team really a springboard. We had just a few members when I started coaching there, and we were around 70 when I took over. So I bought that gym and closed it over a weekend. I know people kind of were like, how'd you do that so quick? It was kind of a year in the making, right? Finding the right space and all that good stuff. So the rent in downtown and in Miami is fairly expensive, right? And finding a space in a city, right? I think you've seen it with other gyms that have had issues with landlords and vibrations and noises. When you're in an urban environment, it's very, very tricky to find a space where you can get a long enough lease, right? Because you're going to recoup your investment across the gym. It's not going to happen in a year. Maybe it'll happen in 2 if you're lucky, depending on how much you spent, right? Everyone's different. But I had to find a space that was going to be A, large enough, B, central enough. And then, of course, that wasn't just going to murder me with overhead expenses, and of course, something that I wasn't going to have an issue with neighbors. And so we're in a historic building. It's a landmark, which wasn't easy to get into. I had to put together a whole business plan, and we had to negotiate to get a current tenant out. And it was a very long process. And of course, permitting with the city. I mean, gym owners know this all too well. It's not an overnight thing, right? It may have looked like it from the outside because I was adamant on not telling anyone, not the members. I mean, the staff knew, but I didn't want to announce anything until it was ready. And because then I didn't want to turn into like, hey, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Because, with gyms, especially, there's a million things that are going to happen before the idea versus the open, right? And I think, I never want to be that person that's having to explain why something's not happening, because I feel accountable and like, So I just really wanted to give the members more. We had that intangible, right, at our old gym, which is the community. You can have a room full of true forms and skiers and the fanciest of everything, but at the end of the day, CrossFit is not an if you build it, he will come type of thing. It's you got to get them first, and then you can always expand and build and do. And that's kind of, if I would tell you that you were in our gym, right? So that back room that we have, which we use primarily for open gym or overflow, that room was basically the size of our old gym. It's crazy to think about. It's so small.
Which is extremely small. Yeah, it's got to be,
but
50 square feet.
Yeah, but people came, and we had a great team, and still have that same team with me today. We've expanded it a bit, but the core group of coaches we have, we've actually never turned them over. We have lost one coach in a year and a half. So realistically, I think that it was a combination of factors, but more so that I kind of woke up and was like, look, I'm doing this CrossFit thing for 10 years. I've done it in all different capacities, and this seems like the natural next step as a business person who also is truly passionate about fitness and the sport. How could we do this? So was able to get the space that we have. It wasn't easy, right? So go back to that luck word. It definitely was not luck. It was a lot of stuff to get there. And I wanted to be in a more central location because, again, in Miami and most cities, just a few blocks is going to make a world of difference. So when I looked at the numbers, did a lot of forecasting. I'm a numbers person. Also, utilized my network, right? So like an accountant that we know through the CrossFit community, like a guy that does a lot of M&A activity stuff that we know through CrossFit. Like, I mean, just looking at, working with realtors that we know through, so just, there's so many people within the typical CrossFit network that you'd be surprised if you tap into it and, realize that it's not something you do by yourself, right? There's so many resources that you can tap into and get help from to plan these types of things. So looked at a lot of different ways that the numbers could potentially go, worst case, best case, and said, okay, this is something that let's do this. So took my money, small SBA loan, and the rest is history. And here we are. So we're in our 17th month of being open in a 7-year lease with options to renew, thankfully. So we have no upstairs neighbors, and we've actually been able to help bring other businesses to the corridor that we're in, which has been really beneficial for the building owner. So he's happy. And we expanded 3 times in our first year, like slowly but surely as we grew. And after our revenues were at a certain number, I look at the business and say, okay, what could, are we ready for this, right? Is this something that's safe for us to do? We're biting off more than we can chew, being really prudent and careful. And, to your point about attention to detail, looking at, little things that we can do to kind of, scale correctly, right? And stay in business and be successful.
So it seems like you're doing so many things in the CrossFit space the right way. A lot of people get involved in CrossFit like, hey, I want to train people. And you clearly have a passion for that. You've taken your level 2. You're not just kind of letting that sit by the wayside while you focus on the business, but you are doing a lot of things like analyzing numbers and forecasting, and all these things that CrossFit box owners don't realize they should be doing. Where does that come from? I know you have a background in, quote unquote, the real world with real jobs. Is that where it comes from? Is it just, hey, you're trying to be intelligent about it, so this is open in, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Like, and what's some advice you would give to people? Because, unlike you, when I started, it was like, hey, let's buy some equipment and let's have some fun.
Yeah, of course.
And not that you're not having a ton of fun, but you're doing it really smart.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of moving parts in that question, and I think what you're mentioning about let's all have some fun, and that worked 10 years ago, 12 years ago, absolutely.
Right.
That's how the gym I went to kind of started. It was a bunch of people in a warehouse, and we were figuring stuff out, and we're like, what are these Innovate sneakers? Like, we didn't really know much about anything back then. But things have obviously changed, and now there's so many. And in a lot of ways, I think CrossFit has spawned a whole growth of the boutique fitness industry, but that's for another conversation. As far as, when I look at our business and I look at other CrossFit gyms and just what works, what doesn't work, I think that it's a combination of things, right? So yes, do I come from the quote unquote real world? Absolutely, right? So I was a finance, and I have 2 degrees, one in finance and one in marketing and advertising. And then of course also I've been working in the corporate world. I'll be truthful, I'm 36 now. I've been working in the corporate world since I'm 21, but I also have always loved, working out, and I've been in love with CrossFit since I found it. And at the end of the day, I think that when I look at, and this isn't all CrossFit gyms, when I look at, let's say, a failed CrossFit gym, we'll use that as an example. When I look at a failed CrossFit gym, a lot of the time what I'll see is that there was a partner, right, who was like the business person, the person who understood the numbers. And then there was a person who was the CrossFit lover, right? This games athlete or whatever, an athlete that loved CrossFit. And they came together and they said, I'll be the this and you'll be the that, and we're going to make it work. And it doesn't, right? Because I think that the numbers person doesn't understand the relationship and community side, and then it's the fitness side, and what needs to happen from the programming perspective, and all these other things relating to the, the people and community side, the fitness side of the business. And then vice versa. The fitness guy wants to get a whole room of Concept 2 erg bikes because it's the new cool thing, and doesn't at all think about what he's bringing in or what the long term is going to look like on, let's say, a loan, right, or a lease. Like, oh yeah, we got this great space and we have no lease. Like, are you kidding? Right? So I think it's a combination of, yes, absolutely being able to apply a lot of the things that I learned, through my corporate experience, but also, unfortunately, seeing, like I said, I've been doing this down here for 10 plus years, and unfortunately, especially in Miami, I think at one point we had over 160 affiliates down here in the county alone. Just unfortunately seeing a lot of gyms fail, right? I mean, it's kind of went through this period, and I think we've seen it all over. I'm sure a lot about it because you've been traveling so much and you've been part of the seminar staff to, these gyms just open, and then a year later, 2 years later, they close or they consolidate. So I think it's a combination of that and seeing other gyms fail and learning from, unfortunately, other people's mistakes over the years. I've been a part of a few different gyms down here, and staying on. I never really said, oh, if I had a gym, I would do it such and such way. But now that I have one, and during the planning stages, thinking about the things that I liked. I mean, something as simple as, we have in our gym a black we don't have a whiteboard in the front of the room, right? We have this black glass board. We use neon markers, and it looks really nice and sleek and clean. And years ago, after going to the games to spectate in 2012 or 2013, I forget which year, but I would always stay in West Hollywood with family in California, and I go to Brick, and Brick had this awesome black board. It looked so nice and clean, and I always remember that. And then when it came time, we opened our gym and said, oh well, I'm gonna put that board in there, right? So just taking these little nuggets of wisdom from so many drop-ins and visits and stuff through the years, right? So I think just experience in the community, watching other people's failures. Yes, absolutely applying corporate experience. In my quote unquote other job, day job, whatever you want to call it. I'm in consulting and sales in the IT space, and do a ton of networking and events. And I do biz dev. I opened up the market for my company in the last two that I worked for in South Florida. So I've been building businesses in a way for many, many years for other people, or divisions of businesses. So it was kind of just modeling it after I had done a lot of that with getting out there in the community. I think a lot of gym owners don't think much about how much they need to be a part of everything else going around them, and having good relationships with other gyms and other athletes, and being very open and letting people come and train at your gym. And just again, looking at the numbers all the time, right? Every single day, being, on top of your inventory, your revenue, finding other lines of revenue to make money off of, right? Your membership is great, but you see retail, right? Little things, or, food items, and, trying different things out. And I think one of the biggest things I see with a lot of gym owners, whether they're ones that fail or ones that are in business, that are their apprehension to be nimble and agile, right? If I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, oh, well, we've always done it this way, or our program is like this, and we don't change our schedule. You have to be responsive to what your members want. I mean, to a certain degree, right? Don't I have a member that wanted a rock climbing wall in my gym, and I looked at him like, no, like, hard no on that, right? But so I think just being smart about what you invest in. I mean, there's so many different things, right? But always being in the business. Yes, I still coach classes, 3 nights a week. I'm happy to fill in for coaches where I can. And then I think, the other side of it too, is the people side of the business beyond your members and the community. It's your staff, right? It's your team. Wadapalooza was so successful, and our day-to-day, in my opinion, is so successful because, we have, I run meetings with my team at the gym, just like I do with my team, at my other company. I mean, we meet regularly, and they're fun too, right? We go through the business, right? We have agendas. They have a lot of visibility to what's going on in the business. We hire from within. I mean, the staff is really, really important. I pride ourselves on the fact that we don't turn over. I encourage growth. I mean, if one of my coaches opens up a gym tomorrow, I'm going to help them. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to hope and pray it's not next door to me, right? But at the end of the day, because they're compensated the right way, they're bonus, they have all these nice perks, and I think that their morale is high and their work ethic is high. They're happy to be there, and that shows, to the members. So it's one big kind of cyclical thing, right? But we're always trying to find new ways to improve. We don't do everything perfect, but we definitely are receptive to change, and ready to make change if we need to.
So many, awesome things that you're talking about there. I want to ask you about something really basic, because you hear about this a lot these days. What was behind your decision to label the gym Downtown Strength and Conditioning, but then have CrossFit?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. So last year I met Jeff Kane, right, when he was CEO. He was in town. He came to our gym and worked out incognito. I had no idea who he was, and we chatted quite a bit, and ended up sharing a meal together with some other people throughout the weekend. And the first thing he asked me when we really sat down and started talking about the gym was that, right? Why are we affiliated, which we are, we're CrossFit DTSC. Why are we affiliated and not putting that in our name? So I mentioned earlier the fact that at one point in Miami specifically, there were, like I mentioned, over, I think, 160 affiliates. And I use that term really broadly because I think we all know what it is: the good affiliate, the bad affiliate. What does that mean? And in Miami in particular, because the overhead, if you go outside of the city and in more rural areas, overhead is pretty easy, right? You go find a warehouse. We got tons of them. Throw some rowers in there, and like to your point earlier, have some fun. Very easy to do. Get your affiliation, and bam, you're ready. So we still, to this day, we have a lot of gyms that they're operating with no L1 coaches, let alone, most of our coaches are L2, or beyond, or have other certifications, right? We require it, we pay for it. But there are all these affiliates, or were a lot of affiliates and still are, that just aren't, in my opinion, bringing anything positive to the CrossFit brand, unfortunately. Lots of great affiliates, don't get me wrong, but these bad affiliates, or even if there's one, is enough to potentially influence someone's opinion, right? We talk about this in the community all the time. I know you've talked about it on your podcast as well, right? That these affiliates are the ones that really muddy the reputation. And in Miami in particular, because we've had so much rampant growth and then consolidation and just a lot of underqualified people teaching quote unquote CrossFit, it scared me. And after listening to, people's apprehensions to join gyms over the years, or hearing people talk about their experiences or journeys, or why they wouldn't try CrossFit with me or come to my classes when I was coaching, it was because of these stigmas, right? So I said, okay, well, what if I just didn't put it in the name and it wouldn't be a deterrent? Like, the quote unquote real CrossFitters are going to know, right? We'll be on the affiliate map. We'll brand ourselves. We'll market ourselves around CrossFit. We'll include all the right things on our website, and within the community, people are going to know who we are because of our network and connections. Great. But, how do we capture the people that, don't want to do CrossFit, and then you put them through, Fran with dumbbells and ring rows and tell them they just do CrossFit, and they're like, oh my God, really? Because they thought it was something entirely different. They had all these misconceptions on what it was. And, we do participate in things like PureFit and ClassPass and GymPass and things to help bring exposure and, convert people that wouldn't go to a quote unquote CrossFit class, but will sign up for something like that. You'd be surprised. I know ClassPass sometimes gets a bad name, is kind of race to the bottom, but for us, at least, especially in the beginning, it was a really great way to get people to try the gym. I still use ClassPass myself when I want to do other things like spinning or, berries or what have you. But we've had conversions. We've had people that have come in on ClassPass that didn't want to do CrossFit, came in, did CrossFit without realizing it, loved the workout. I have girls in particular that were like, I'll never touch a barbell. I don't do this CrossFit. I don't want to rip my hand. I don't want to do these crazy things like these people do. And then, a few weeks after doing it, they want to sign up for a barbell class. They want to, whatever. So it had a lot to do with, wanting to kind of cast a little bit of a wider net, but of course not really muddying the brand either, right? At the end of the day, look, we are a CrossFit gym. Absolutely. Do we offer boot camp versions of our program? Absolutely. Right. Do we offer Olympic weightlifting as a separate course? Absolutely. Do we have Ramwad and yoga and mobility once a month, for an entry point into that and as an important part of recovery? Yes, but we're not a yoga studio. We're not, I think Bergman mentioned one of his podcasts that he told his wife, if you want to do yoga, go down the street. And I was like, preach, yes, because it's true. Like, you want to expose people to some of these other things, but you don't want to get too far away from what your core business is, in our case, which is CrossFit. And that has a lot to do with, too, staying active in community events, right? Getting your members to participate in CrossFit competitions, being a part of things like Wadapalooza. So, I didn't want to be attached to negative stigma related to CrossFit, and also in particular relating to Miami. I didn't want to be grouped with a lot of these affiliates that are no longer around. I think a lot of areas probably where you've seen a lot of growth quickly probably suffer from that, right? We've all heard it before. Somebody's like, oh, I don't want to do CrossFit. I'll get injured. I'll get, I know CrossFit just had a huge victory, to be able to legally fight back, right? And win when it comes to just, even in the media, people out there trying to hurt our brand and talk about, CrossFit's going to kill you. It's like, it's not. You're going to be fine. So, I'm glad that we're affiliated. It's on our website. I'm proud of it. We take part in the open. We absolutely, preach the CrossFit way. We program as such, but we also leave the door open, for people that, don't really want to do a lot of that stuff, right? We offer the core instead of the strength every day. We offer, a modified version of the workout where people are still working out with the group, but aren't doing the barbell stuff, right? So there's ways to kind of tick all the boxes, in my opinion, without kind of getting too far away from what your business is.
What are some other things that you think you guys do really well that, having been around and seeing other boxes, talking to other owners, aren't being done enough?
Oh man, that's a long-winded question.
Give me just some examples, and I'll give you some, like you said, like, I think every box should have a whiteboard, but I love how you have this, shiny one with the neon markers, right? It just adds a little pizzazz, if you will, to the box. It's a little different. You have your mural when you first walk in. What are some other little things?
Yeah. So, I think that, a lot of people don't do as much as they should on on the branding, right? So like I mentioned, I come a lot from a marketing and advertising background, and you know, your brand is your brand, right? It's what people are saying when you're not around. It's what people leave when, I mean, Wadapalooza is a perfect example. I mean, if we have, I think I had to do 4 highlights on our Instagram page because of the story mentions were just so many, because people want to take pictures in the gym. Photographers want to shoot in the gym, right? The investment in the mural, people thought it was crazy. Like, you're going to spend X dollars on a mural. Why would you do that? It's like, because this is what people see, right? This is what they see when they're in the gym. This is what they're left with when they leave the gym. People recognize, if they've never been to my gym, don't even know the name, if they see, you know, someone on Instagram post a video from there, it's the visual of it. They're like, I've seen that gym before. Oh, I know that place. Those mural. Oh yeah, that's that gym with all the picture, right? So like things like that, right? Really important. If you go to our Instagram page, we only use like high res professional photos. I still do the social media for our gym myself. Just because, you know, yeah, is it something I could delegate? Absolutely. But I don't, because as the owner of the gym and as a coach of the gym, I'm in the gym. I know every member by name, and usually more than that. Right. And I think that a lot of owners are really disconnected from how that kind of all, you know, comes together, right? The physical look of the gym, right? You mentioned the blackboard, right? I mean, even in our bathroom, actually, I got this idea from another gym owner locally, Claudia. She's one of the owners at Yellow Falcon, which is another gym here in Miami. She has such a beautiful bathroom, a gorgeous bathroom. And they had this amazing, like, little toiletry utility, you know, cart. And I said, oh my God, I love this idea. She had posted it in a gym owner group I'm in, and I messaged her about it. And, you know, it's something as simple, you know, you go to Home Goods, it's what, $30 or $50, whatever it is to buy this thing. You go to the dollar store, you get just the essentials, right? Girls leaves a hair tie, or needs a hair tie that day, you know, or guy forgot, you know, deodorant, you know, quick spray. Like, I mean, these little things, that the investment is so small, and, you know, people love it. They come in, they're like, oh, this is nice. You know, so I mean, just things along in our bathrooms. We have, you know, shampoo and conditioner. I get it at Costco. These are not expensive things to do. And you mentioned attention to detail earlier. These small things are things that really make a difference. You know, maintaining, like this Sunday before Wadapalooza, and I do this pretty often. I'll just spend, you know, hours in the gym. It's actually somewhat therapeutic for me. Like, just kind of repainting where there's scuffs on the wall, or oiling up the machines, you know, and our coaches take pride in the gym, you know, like being on top of it. Like, if we see things that just aren't where they're supposed to be, not leaving things broken for a long period of time, right? Like, something breaks, like we're making phone calls. I mean, you wouldn't believe me because it didn't look like it, but the Wednesday of Wadapalooza week, like, we had essentially a flood in the back. You know, our building is super old. We have, you know, copper piping. It's, you know, it's very hard to deal with sometimes. And, you know, CrossFitters use a lot of, they use the toilet quite a bit. I'll leave it at that. And we, you know, $1,000 in the garbage, but not really, right? But we had to get the pipes jetted at 11 o'clock at night, pull a big truck up and run lines. And, you know, I mean, that wasn't going to wait. Like, the building landlord was like, oh, you didn't have to spend your money. We would have sent somebody. It's like, but when? You're going to have somebody look at it in a day or two in our busiest week of the year, right? So making those decisions to, you know, invest where we need to, and you know, making those changes, right? Taking pride in the physical look of the gym, taking pride in the impression that you leave on people, right? Like, posting stories on Instagram, tagging those people. You know, I don't spend any money on independent advertising, as far as, like, I don't do sponsored ads or anything along those lines. You know what we do? We do referrals, right? We give, you know, members get $25 to refer somebody, what have you, because our members are our biggest advocates. But on top of that, you know, it's really leaving, you know, that lasting impression on, you know, Instagram's like the key for us in a lot of ways. Like, I'll post those stories, you know, or repost member videos and take the time out to tag these people, post our workouts. Members, you know, want to see themselves working out, looking, you know, getting stuff done, capturing those moments, you know, and really, you know, putting yourself out there all the time. Like, I mean, imagine if I posted, you know, 100 stories, and all those stories, you know, got tagged by, if I tagged 2 or 3 people or brands or whatever in there, and got reposted, or if, you know, allowing, you know, the walls look like what they look like, and photographers want to shoot there, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get access to those photos, and then, you know, you're ending up on a, you know, a Fleo email or whatever. And it's like, I'm so proud of that, you know, because people know that it's our gym, and it makes every dollar we spent on the art or the space, or, you know, the hours that I spent painting walls and making sure, you know, it's like when Fikowski did his stuff with Arm & Hammer during WADA, like, there was one wall he was in front of that was, I kid you not, it was a disaster, like, the week prior. scuffs and, all just jacked up. And when I saw the video of him doing all this stuff, I was like, man, I'm so happy that I painted that wall. Just because it's like, this is what people see. Right. So again, you don't have to have the fanciest and the best of everything, but just taking pride in what you do have, right? Maintaining that stuff and putting the money where it matters, right? Like I said, in the branding of the business and, spending the money to have the right coaches there, enough coaches, I always make the comparison of like an ER, right? If you go to the ER and the doctor to patient ratio is 1 to 20, probably gonna be a while before you get seen, right? But if you go, let's say, to another neighborhood where maybe taxes are higher and the doctor to patient ratio is 1 to 4, it's going to get a different experience in that ER. And it's no different in a CrossFit gym, right? Like, I think a lot of owners they're always looking for ways to cut costs. And, you have to spend money to make money. And I understand that it's not always something that's easy to do. I mean, I can tell you, I'll be very candid. I have not taken a dollar out of the business. I put everything back, and happily so. It's my choice, not because we're not profiting, but because I want to continue to foster the growth of the business. And, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for, make a quick buck and be gone and sell it. I mean, I want to take pride in our space, and I want the members to take pride in it. They like being there. They're proud of it. Right. So, I mean, spending money on it, like I said, having a marketing person, like looking at the areas where you can do stuff or where you need to delegate, knowing when to kind of step away from certain things, where to invest, having events, networking, doing different things. I mean, it's all, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of things. I mean, I don't remember who had said it, but like, if you're doing like, a swim workout or a track workout, or you're doing things, maybe once a month or whatever, like that is not above and beyond. That is your responsibility as a gym, as a community, as an owner, to be doing things for your members. It's what are you doing beyond that, right? How are you offering, gymnastics course, right, for your members? Are you offering, skills-based nutrition? Do you have a coach that has a cert for that? Like, are you doing things to add value to your services and your business? So
yeah, and I love what you're saying too. So much of that is just low hanging fruit.
totally.
Clean your walls, and I love the idea of having a wall where people do take pictures in front of. I've seen other boxes do that well, because then people share it. They post
Yeah,
it, and
it's the most
whether or
simple
not
thing.
they tag you, they're still seeing it. So
Mm-hmm.
one more question, just, you've set yourself up for success. What are some of the things you're doing now, though, to stay ahead of the curve? It's 2020. What are some things you're kind of forecasting to do well now that other boxes maybe can do as well? If what you're saying sparks their interest, some of the other little things that, like, hey, I want to be so successful for the next 5 years that I'm doing this today.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. So I think there's a lot of things, right? So I just was talking a little bit about going above and beyond with events. I can tell you, like I have, meetings with the coaches very regularly, postmortems on how things went, and planning ahead. I think that's one of the biggest things, planning ahead, right? So our event schedule right now is very solidified, at least from a date perspective. Some events from an outline perspective already as well, all the way through essentially July. Right. So we have at least 1, 2 things going on a month. I think that, pre-planning the event schedule is really important. And then also, of course, ensuring that you're empowering, and we are empowering our coaches for their future growth, right? Because if they grow, we grow. So like, I now have 2 coaches that have their USAW L1. We're affiliating our barbell club, right? We were essentially built on Olympic weightlifting way back in the day, when that's how I met essentially the original owner of our old gym. We still place a high emphasis on weightlifting. So, continuing education, right, for the coaches, like looking at, sitting down with them individually and talking about what their goals are going to be. How could we help foster their growth, whether it's in our walls or beyond, is going to be really important to our continued success. And, because they're successful, then we're successful, right? And then definitely looking at, P&L, right? So looking at our profit and loss. I pay for a bookkeeper. This is a really good investment. I can tell you, I pay $750 every 3 months, to be very transparent. And it is one of the best things you can possibly do. So looking back at our annual P&L and looking every single month at what we're spending on what, and that is fluid, right? So always looking at areas where we can be efficient, right? Are we getting our our ginger shots from one distributor, and this distributor is where we get our other thing from, and is it cheaper, is it better? Things like from Wadapalooza, I could tell you a lot of brands reached out to us about carrying their products, right? Like Mush sent us some samples. We said, okay, let's try it out, right? I'm not just gonna put it in the gym. People like it. What are the margins on it, right? You drank cold brew in our gym, right? Continuing to see what's working, right? What are we making money on? What is adding value? What is going to continue to add value in our gym? Do we want to look at CBD, right? I get contacted, I'm sure, like most gym owners, by CBD companies all the time. Is this something that works? Would it work? This company has a vending machine that comes with it. Great. Evaluating, our retail strategy all the time. Always coming out with, new designs and things like that, to keep. I mean, if you go into our gym on an average day, you'll see probably 50% of the members are wearing something, whether it's socks, hats, shirt, sticker, whatever, to show our brand, right? So looking at how that's going to look for 2020 and 2021 and beyond. And then of course also like class schedules, how are we looking attendance wise, open gym wise, just kind of doing a little bit more of the same, but also, being receptive to change. We were doing a lot with the CrossFit Foundation. I had the opportunity to meet Josh Murphy a couple of years ago, and he's been a huge supporter of the gym, and also really has helped open us up to a lot of the different foundations out there that are affiliated with CrossFit. I think a lot of owners could look at how they could really get more involved in their local communities. Right now we're working on founding a local regional chapter of Outwad, with another member from CrossFit Seoul, Danny's gym, to help really kind of localize the efforts that we've been doing with the LGBT community even more so, because we have done Outwad several times, and there are a lot of other gyms in the area that support it. We're doing something with Catch a Lift, which is another CrossFit Foundation affiliated group that is essentially gives a vet's opportunity to either get CrossFit memberships or equipment, sponsors a lot of different things around that. So just doing not just events like a beach wad, right, but doing things that are going to be beneficial to the community. They're going to connect you in. We had the Downtown Development Authority at the gym yesterday. They were doing a campaign on live and work in downtown, right? It's not just an area where people come to work anymore. It's a place where people you can live and that you want to be. So I think looking outside of just this like CrossFit, I'll use the term box, the irony, right? But looking outside our little boxed world, right? And saying, how could I do more beyond, right? Like, how could I be involved in, with other local businesses? We did a Business at the Box event last year, which we'll do again this year. It was a huge success. Wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but, we were able to pull sponsors. And, I think a lot of people don't realize, going back to my comment about network, you have so many people at your disposal as an affiliate owner, or even as a coach. You really do. You just don't realize it until you try, right? So when I went to some of the people that, I look around at our average member and I'm like, man, we have people from every walk of life. You name it. We've got everyone from doctors to photographers to, estheticians, lawyers, you name it, right? Like most gyms probably do. You have a lot of different types of people. CrossFit tends to do that, right? Age ranges, whatever. So, I started looking around. I'm like, man, a lot of these people, I would get calls, emails, people like, oh, I love who does your emails, who does your branding, who does your books, and I would be making all these recommendations all the time, connecting people to one another. And I said, man, there's a better way to do this. Like, what if I just did sort of a business networking event, like Business at the Box at the gym, use one of our members, he's got a, Brazilian barbecue company. We pay him a few $100. They grill some food. I have some, couple members that are wine and liquor reps, get some, maybe some samples of that, like put it together. The investment is minimal. You get a DJ, we rented some high top tables. Like, this is, again, this is low hanging fruit. These are already your members at your gym, right? These are people that could be meeting each other, helping each other, working with one another. And a lot of opportunities came out of that for people. We didn't charge for it. We didn't sell tables. We let people set up if they wanted to and bring business cards and meet and mingle. And people you sweat next to this guy every single day. Maybe you know his name, maybe you make small talk in a partner wad, but you don't really know much about what each other does or how you could work together. So definitely replicating a lot of the events that worked well for us. We'll definitely do that again. And then, as I mentioned, being part of a lot of the things outside of your gym, right? Whether that's your members' businesses, whether that's charities that affiliated with CrossFit or not. You never know kind of how that how that could help. We did Saved by the Bell last year as well, another event, centered around education. And I mean, so I think that people miss the boat a lot on how much they could be, these organizations, these foundations are, they're chomping at the bit to be more involved. They're happy to help, right? So, just kind of taking, I think people don't do enough from an outbound perspective. They just wait for people to walk into their gym. Like, I mean, when we first opened, we were handing out, literally going door to door, our coaches, to just the neighborhood businesses and the condo associations and people around, feet on the street, like cold calling, like they used to do back in the day in sales, and just like telling people that you're here, and people don't do that. Fire stations, police officers offering corporate discounts. I mean, so we're going to continue to do a lot more of what we've been doing. And then of course, adding more, right? Doing more events, doing more within the community, and, learning from our mistakes, right? Looking at, we spent money on, like I said, 3 different expansions last year. Like this year, it's not about that. This year, it's about, putting money back into, essentially paying off the startup costs, right? Paying off the loan, doing things to actually be able to take home, a salary, in the future.
Yeah, it sounds to me, and for anyone listening, the big takeaways from listening to Jess is it's not one big thing. It's lots of little things done exceptionally well with pride that are going to make your box the one that stands out. In Miami, like you've mentioned, there's hundreds of boxes in a small radius, but there's a reason downtown strength and conditioning, becomes the go-to one for Wadapalooza and for other people to check out. And it's not one thing, it's all of those little things. So I hope that if people are listening, they can take one thing away from it. You don't have to do, everything Jess is doing, because I'm not sure how she finds the time, but, maybe it's, paint your walls once in a while, get a whiteboard, run a social event that showcases the great things that your members do at your box. It's really awesome. And from our perspective here at Best Hour of Their Day, Jess, it's just awesome to see someone doing it, like Coach Glassman used to say, do the right things for the right people. And that's what you're doing.
I appreciate that. And, I think just to hinge on that is, kind of a really important piece. I mentioned a few times about, the team, right? And even though I may be a sole owner, there's 9 of us as far as coaches, myself included, and then, our marketing person, right? So technically 10 of us, and then the extension of that, right? I mentioned we have a bookkeeper, I have my accountant, and all these kind of peripheral people. And I think it's really important to understand that it's not my gym. Yes, it's mine on paper, but it's not my gym, right? It's the members' gym, it's the coaches' gym, it's everyone that's in this community's gym. And that, the more that you allow people to really be part of things, the more that it's really going to help you. And I think really one of the biggest things is it's our team, right? Like, I really take pride in our team. Like, I'm so proud of them. The feedback that we get all the time, well, excuse me, I'll say 1%, right? So 99% of the time is amazing, and then just, being receptive to, maybe if there's something that needs attention, and how we address that, right? And ensuring that the staff really love each other, right? That really building that team, you put the right people in the right seats and everything will work out. And I think that within, the success of a CrossFit gym, we are a people business, 100%. We are in the business of coaching CrossFit. We are not in the business of a rower or, art on the walls, right? We are absolutely in the people business. And I think that that's probably, at least for me, one of the things that I try and really be, have my ear to the grindstone, if you will, all the time, like really understand what's going on out there. I mean, our members really feel that this is their gym. They helped us move the weekend we moved. I mean, they moved us, our members actually spent the whole weekend, our coaches, we moved into that gym. Like, so they feel it's theirs, So I think that that's probably one of the biggest things, at least for me, is empowering other people and tapping into that network you have to continue to foster success and growth.
Well, I love it. I look forward to seeing that growth continue, and I look forward to being back next year and, hanging out with all your coaches who did a phenomenal job at Wadapalooza. And, you have a great coaching staff. I've been lucky enough to be a part of many of their level 1s and level 2s. So,
well, that's why they're so great, obviously. I mean, you taught us everything we know. So,
I didn't want to take all the credit, but I do feel like
we'll give you some. We'll definitely give you
deserve some of it. But Jess, thank you so much. And, we'll put all of your information out there. But if people want to check out, your personal social media and the box social media, where can they head to?
Yeah. My personal page is my Instagram is JBNYMIA. I'm from New York. Those are my initials. But the gym, which is my pride and joy Instagram, is DT, right? That's as in downtown, SC, as in strength and conditioning, MIA. And that's it. So DTSCMIA. We've also got a barbell club Instagram, which is linked on that page, and a link tree with all kinds of other stuff on there with photos on our website. So DTSCMIA on the gram, and that'll kind of show you everything else.
Love it, Jess. Thanks again for coming on. Thanks again for sharing so much of your wisdom
our
and
pleasure.
passion.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys soon.
You got it. Have a great day.
My pleasure. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day, and thanks again to our special guest. We appreciate all you guys do for us with Best Hour of Their Day when it comes to sharing our posts on Instagram, when it comes to subscribing to us on YouTube, when it comes to the constant feedback. We are grateful and we appreciate it. We are trying to build a community based on coaching development and becoming the best version of yourself. And it goes without saying that we couldn't do without all of you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Season 1 of Dropping In is out. We are getting tremendous feedback and we'd love for you to check it out. Leave us a comment on there. Head over to our Instagram. Give us a follow. Like our pictures. Feel free to share anything that resonates with you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us, please don't hesitate. Email us, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Thanks again. Until the next episode, we hope you've had the best hour of your day.